Hello and welcome to Pursuit of Perfect Systems. This is the follow-up video to the Chord Electronics Hugo TT versus Hugo 2 blind test video that was posted a few days ago. I firstly want to thank everyone who has watched the video, but especially thank those who commented down below. I thought it was an interesting and fun thing to do, and I also thought it would surprise a few people, as it seemed to. To me, there is no clear-cut answer here as to what DAC is best. It will purely depend on a person's budget and their sound preference priorities, as to which DAC they will go for out of these two. They're both really good DACs. At the same time I filmed the review, I also filmed my thoughts on the differences between the two DACs, and I'll play that video for you in a second. I videoed that up front purely so that it was not influenced at all by anything that anybody said in the blind test. After that, I'm going to play one of the songs from the blind test again and quicker swap between A and B. There's on a particular forum there's a chap who felt he couldn't actually hear differences between the two DACs, and I thought maybe this presentation will be easier to identify the differences between the two. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, visit our website www.pursuitofperfectsystem.com and follow us on Twitter. The support is greatly appreciated and it will help us bring you better content quicker. Just to give my thoughts on the differences between the Hugo TT and the Hugo 2. Now, the Hugo TT for me was a really interesting product, and I think the reason I liked it so much is the first time using just the KEF speakers, it gave me a full and big scaled sound that I'm used to getting from using my Meridian preamp and processor, the KEF speakers with the two SVS subwoofers. Now, it's the first time the speakers have had enough scale to the sound for me to be satisfied. So that was a really big thing for me with the Hugo TT that I'd not had before with the speakers on their own. I really liked the Hugo TT. I thought that the presentation was clear and clean. However, after listening to the Hugo 2, in some regards it makes the Hugo TT sound broken. And now that was a real shock and a real surprise, and it literally took an A-B situation for that to be clear. So listening to the Hugo 2 and then went back to the Hugo TT and was instantly missing that resolution and that clarity and that precision. Now the edges for the Hugo TT were more rounded and definitely smoother and in a way an easier listen, but the sound was definitely missing the resolution and the clarity and the focus that the Hugo TT gives you. So that's one point to the Hugo 2. This is where things get confusing because it is not clear cut at all. Now, for the first maybe day of listening to the Hugo 2, bear in mind I literally come off the review of the Hugo TT and been so impressed with it. All I was writing down with the notes that I was making listening to the Hugo 2 was what wasn't there and what it wasn't doing compared to the Hugo TT. And that was kind of the bass and the presence and a few bits and pieces. So initially I wasn't as impressed with the Hugo 2 as I later became to be. I could appreciate it. It was the A-B comparisons that really sort of told the story. Going back from the Hugo 2 to the Hugo TT, I really missed the focus. But going from the Hugo TT to the Hugo 2, I really missed the scale and that fullness and the roundedness of the sound. So we don't actually here have a clear situation. This to me is just like when you've got two women that you really love. You've got the brains and you've got the body. Now what you really need is to have those two together, isn't it? Put those two together and we'd probably end up with the really beautiful woman that's off of Countdown. We'd probably end up with her, I don't know her name. So Chord, if you're listening, if you're watching, are we going to get a Hugo 2 TT? Because then the super capacitors within the Hugo TT combined with the brains, the DAC chip, the more advanced DAC chip of the Hugo 2, and then we're likely to have a serious winner on our hands. What I would like to see from Chord as well is a version of this DAC without the headphone amplifier, just a straight standalone DAC with all the connections and the bells and whistles that we need at a cheaper price point. That would be something nice to see.
shut my eyes and you know I'll be lying right by your side in Barcelona. In Barcelona.